In the beginning, we struggled for even the bare necessities. Hindsight has made us realize our planet was not one friendly to life. In the winters of our distant past, struggle was constant, and survival never a given. We are the Arcala, a species in civilization defined by our endurance and perseverance. In the early days, our ancestors huddled on the equator, as everywhere else was far too harsh for life. We were not communal or friendly to one another by nature, with bickering and raids being the only contact tribes had with one another. As time went by, special individuals started to appear, who had a fire in their soul and the skill at arms and speech to gain special status. The Age of Heroes began during this time, and through these individuals our early societies and nations were formed. It is only due to the charisma and exceptional nature of the few that the many would find any value in building societies together. In these times, the purpose of our people was found, as collectively we began to seek skill and prominence for the purpose of being worthy of remembrance. Statues and stories were the reward for becoming worthy of a following, and every one of our people strove harder to reach this status. Technology and a huge population growth coincided with this change in structure, as well as the migration of our people into the cold polar regions as great Arcalans demanded danger to be overcome. These regions were home to all manner of dangerous and deadly creatures. The strongest would hunt as a show of strength, leading to a culture of martial prowess and the conflicts that came with it. In the northern snowy wastes, a faction eventually developed known as the Confederacy. Unlike every other kingdom and nation, it was ruled by a council, elected by the people. Its purpose was to utilize the collective will of its people for progress and passion, and although it could be slow in deliberation, it was unique in success. The Confederation slowly expanded across the planet over hundreds of years, until it eventually was the sole governing body on the planet. Technological development would continue for hundreds of years until eventually our people found themselves capable of traveling to the stars themselves. Innately, we all yearn to travel from our home. This is something early Arcalans did by traveling the snowy wastes of our planet, and would then choose to pursue by looking to the unknown regions of the cosmos. As spaceflight became commonplace, the solar system was industrialized and explored, before eventually interstellar travel became possible, and the whole galaxy was opened up to us. There was so much hope in these days, as the council and people were united behind curiosity and the wanderlust that comes with the breakdown of limitation. Yet this is a dangerous thing, as curiosity can also lead to an abandonment of caution. When we met the enemy, we were utterly unprepared for a hostile galaxy. Our own conflicts had long ended before, and militarily, we had almost nothing. Only enough to deal with the occasional pirate or rebellion. The first and only alien species we ever met ignored our attempts at conciliation, and as soon as they realized how undefended we were, attacked. Our colonies burned, our explorers were slaughtered, and our star-spanning economy left in tatters. The council reacted slowly and were unable to put in place the necessary actions to slow the attack. They made it all the way to our homeworld and destroyed its station before we pushed them back at unthinkable cost. In that moment, when hope was lost, Declan Noble did the unthinkable. Overnight, the distinguished admiral and his loyal officers overthrew the council and ended the old systems, placing in power a dictatorship, which allowed us to become strong enough to survive. For hundreds of years, the war continued as things became more equal. The protectors became the defenders of our people, as the Arcalans became more warlike than they ever imagined or desired. I took the dictator's chair 5 years past, and was made aware of an entirely uncertain contact. We called it the Infinity Machine, as it spoke only on the subject. It had been discovered in an empty system, and our contact with it had been odd. As the enemy grew bolder, we begged for any aid, and eventually it did relent. The technology given to us was utilized to create a bomb. As my scientist told me, it was intended for that use. We developed it for years before an unfortunate night it was accidentally set off. If it had been a bomb we would never have noticed. Instead, it transported our capital Velutaria to an entirely new galaxy, cut off from the lifeblood of our interplanetary empire. We were left with a hugely populated planet full of military officers, scientists, and bureaucrats, in a place we knew nothing of. Rioting and chaos reigned as Project Lazarus was initiated, a program designed to launch a new space station in the event of our own falling. The government was moved to orbit, as an unsure future must be dealt with. I am Alexander Faust, protector of the Arcala and First Admiral. My people are cast into an alien galaxy, and I must lead them into a stable future. So our ethics are militarist, fanatic materialist, competitive, and egalitarian. We have rule of sages, memorialists, and distinguished admiralty. Dictator or protector Alexander Faust he has home in the sky and he has charismatic. So that's where we're at. So we do still have a couple of ships left. We have a couple of ships which were on the planet when we got transported to this universe. We started really a couple months after we got the bomb went off and we got transported to this dimension. So we have just a few things left. There's a couple very small military vessels which were being repaired on planet during the transportation, and we do have the very small shipyard that we launched with Project Lazarus after we were transported here. Beyond that, we have nothing. Currently, our planet is just consumed by riots. We don't have really any order at all on the planet. I hope at some point we will be able to return to the planet. I have heard that our forces have brought order back to the main areas, but we haven't instilled order in much of the planet still, so we will have to stay up in the at Velutaria Station. We are in a strange universe. Once our maps showed us the whole galaxy, but now we know nothing of where we're at. None of our star charts make sense. Nothing is as it should be. We will have to completely rediscover the entire galaxy. When we have the ability, First Admiral, I think we're gonna need to declare martial law on the planet.
Yeah, that should be our first objective.
Agreed. We have to bring stability back to the planet. It's not going to be easy. There's a lot of our citizens who have been used to living a very comfortable lifestyle their whole lives, but they're going to need to be retrained to do things like farming. And that will not be easy. We'll go ahead and build a stronghold on the planet too for our military. As soon as we declare martial law, in order to instill trust in the dictatorship and in the military, we are going to move the government back down to the capital. Our duty now, as protectors of the Velutarian people and the Arcalans, is to ensure that we survive in this universe. Nothing else matters. We have no idea what is in this universe. It could be entirely empty. Who knows where that device has transported us? But if our own universe is anything to draw from, we must be very wary of anything we meet in this universe. We have a first contact, I think.
We should be very careful, my lord.
Very. The Yuvan remnants, pitiful creatures. Know that we roam the stars for eons before your hapless species mastered spaceflight. If any of your wretched little ships come into our space, do not expect them to return. Military isolationist, stagnant ascendancy. They're not violent, that's surprising. They are to the southern region of us in the galaxy. It appears that they are hostile, but they do not plan to take any action. Also, there are ships moving to the north of us as well. They are of an unknown design and we can't make contact with them. I'm going to go ahead and position the fleet in Arculum.
Yes, we need to also make more ships. We have too
many.
We do,
I agree.
Ships.
It doesn't appear to be the enemy, but we know what happens when we are caught off guard against aliens. We have factions appearing on the homeworld too. Damn. Only a couple years in this new universe and already we have the petty politics that existed before. We have the National Trading Center, the March for the Brave, the Committee of Advanced Sciences, and the Labor Rights Network. So we'll say that the Labor Rights Network are the ones wanting democratic reform. The Cerberus Defense Co.
Wow, they are too close to us.
They're very close to us. We have our station built though. Should we attempt to make contact with them?
I think we should just ignore them.
Last time we made contact, it didn't go well. Our reports indicate that they are fanatic militarists, fanatic materialists, and authoritarian. It's reasonable. And that they're not organic. At this point, I think one of our biggest priorities is going to be getting all of these excess people off of our capital planet. They need to be retrained into farmers and miners in the colonial worlds. The annals of our own history speak to our early days when we did the same thing. Not for the same reasons, but we have an observation post on Esius 2. The species on the planet seems to be very intelligent, but they never unified like we did. How do we want to approach that?
I think we should observe them for now.
Alexander Faust is also not like evil. He's very competent and he's very focused on preservation. He's got an eye for talent, he's charismatic, and he believes in building a future in space. So we are militaristic and authoritarian because it's how we view us preserving the safety of our future. But, for example, Dictator Faust, he's not a man that explicitly enjoys what comes of that. So it's kind of complicated. Hello, friends. You may recognize me as the scientist that went missing on Isis 2. My sudden disappearance was quite intentional, I assure you. The natives here have come to see me as something of a god, and why shouldn't they? After much deliberation, I have decided to bring true civilization to these savages. One of our scientists has taken over that planet.
This is very dangerous.
This is not good. He's giving them our technology. This is very, very dangerous. We need to decide how we're going to deal with this civilization, the species. They know of us now. Our scientists have seen to that.
We might have to take military action and take over the planet. We do have enough military.
Do we really want to become the invaders? We have spent the last 200 years defining our civilization based off of that. We'll do the same to them.
We must, my lord. There is no other choice.
As I said before, so we've managed to basically stabilize the crisis on our capital planet. We've transitioned it away from a science and administrative capital planet to more of an old school farming, mining, industrial world to compensate for our lack of a space empire that disappeared when we transported ourselves to this universe. We have managed to colonize 2 planets and have gotten the excess population off of our capital to those areas. A lot of the people are very unhappy though, because much of these populations, they were trained to be scientists, administrators, bureaucrats, educated people, but now they're being forced to be farmers, miners, and things like that, so they're very unhappy. As such, we're beginning to have a bit of a crisis with the labor unions. The Labor Rights Network is a faction that has appeared in our nation, our civilization, led by Tao Xing, who is demanding a return to the more confederacy-based Republican values, as well as secured labor rights for the workers, which the military and Dictator Faust are obviously very against, given how bad of a situation we're in. We are becoming what we once hated, but for the stability of our people, we must do it. They have a lot more soldiers than we expected. Fuck, this is a slaughter. We're gonna have to call it a retreat. In our species culture, we don't worship gods. There's no religion to speak of within our species. Like, if you read the lore of it, you understand that basically the only way that our society kind of developed was through, like, basically very charismatic, powerful, like, individuals, who in ancient times were called, like, heroes and legends, but are now just, like, leaders. They are so respected and, like, I wouldn't say worshipped, but they kind of have huge cults of personality. So instead of having religion with gods, we basically just honor our past ancestors who were very powerful and respected individuals. So to have one of our own species declare himself a god culturally would be like pretty big deal. It'd be really bad. So not only has he taken advantage of this species, not only has he caused problems with us, he has basically desecrated our culture by doing this. So he will be executed. It's gonna be a hard-fought battle. They're entrenched, but we've got orbital support. Fuck, we had to retreat again. The third and final invasion. They have nothing left. We're gonna drag our traitor out and execute him. We won't even let him stand trial. He'll be executed as soon as he's found.
Survey concluded. Planetary incursion initiative successful.
We're gonna incorporate them. Let's immediately establish a stronghold on the planet for our soldiers. We've met a new species.
An alien empire has established communication.
The Puck Assembly of Occult Practitioners. You hacked into us, and now you call us friend. The Assembly.
Arcala Divergency. You appear to be the first species we've found living still amongst the stars. How the hell have you survived so long?
Greetings. I am Protector Faust. It is unexpected to meet you.
Yes, as are you. You are awfully close towards our borders, and the indication of tomb world within them does not bode well for you. Do you have any knowledge upon this scourge upon our worlds?
Not at all. You say that you have many tomb worlds. You mean planets destroyed in the past, I assume?
Well, of course. Devastated by radiation. The damn fumes are belching into the galaxy as we speak.
We have not heard of this before. I'm going to be very frank with you. We are not from around this area, so to speak. We came from very far away.
Oh? Well, perhaps you could get in contact with some of our scholars. They have been interested in cataloguing a new phenomenon known as shroud transportation recently.
Shroud transportation?
But I personally believe it's all a hoax.
What is the shroud you speak of?
Imagine our world is upon a sheet of parchment. Where it folds over, the gap between, that is where the shroud lies, supposedly. A place we may punch through reality and skip certain parts of it, so to speak.
Project concluded.
That sounds very far-fetched, to be very frank with you. Our species doesn't deal with magic and things of that nature. It's very odd.
What? Sorry, you have no magic?
Of course not. Magic doesn't exist. And that's what you're describing, unless I am, my universal translator's not working.
As head geomancer, Lord of the Firing Mantle, and Walker of the In-Between, I can assure you it does. Perhaps we may invite you and a couple of your research to our worlds to study the numerous effects. If you truly believe that magic does not exist, then you are welcome to see it for yourself.
I would assume you're simply describing advanced technology.
You have your goal, and we should assist in it, as should you to us.
I must say it is very odd to find someone actually willing to cooperate. We have never encountered that in the history of our species. We look forward to at least having a amicable relationship.
First time for everything, I suppose.
Indeed.
Farewell.
You as well. Now we have the infrastructure and space and the economy to back up the capital and can begin to return to focusing on what we did in the past, which is obviously building prosperous planets and getting our species to the stars. Since we've now begun to meet alien species who are not really hostile to us, it is going to exacerbate the ideological issues within our empire, which is the fact that there are many groups now that want change. There's a Democratic Rights Watch, there is a labor organization, and the military is beginning to lose power. And as such, there are beginning to be much stronger calls for change. We're fanatic materialists, so we'll go prosperity. We will be very focused on it now that we've returned to the private sector and aren't mandating jobs anymore, since we have managed to stabilize things after the initial jump. These are very concerning, though, these fleets in the northern systems. Our own fleet is not capable of dealing with them either. We don't have much naval capacity. I think it's time for us, in order to secure our borders with all the very powerful factions around us, to start building anchorages so we can get bigger fleets. In the past, we were caught off guard for not being prepared, and we can't let that happen again. But we need to put them in places that are hard to get to. The gangsters controlling ICS-2 have instituted an extensive protection racket. Since the planet's judicial and law enforcement systems have proved unable to deal with the organized crime, the population feels it has no choice but to submit to the authority of these criminals. This has been a serious effect on productivity. God damn it. Martial law's not working. It's proving to be much more of a hassle than anticipated. But then again, we did try to incorporate an entirely alien race into our own. On Asius, which is the planet of the alien species that we forcibly incorporated, they basically turned entirely to crime. we'll basically say that in the lore of this game, the government, the Arcalan government and the dictator have not really prioritized building up this planet as much as obviously the other ones. So there's now a lot of like ethnic issues that have popped up between our species and theirs, and the incorporation has kind of not worked very well. As such, the people here have kind of created a shadow economy and are kind of resorting to crime in order to keep resources on their own planet so that they basically are not in total poverty, which the current government is doing.
Faust, are you there by any chance?
Hello there.
Ah, yes. Sorry, I appear to have interrupted you. You appear to be dealing with some rather bad news at the moment.
We've had a lot of issues internally, but it's a security issue. What can I do for you?
We have managed to slip past the radars of the xenophobes towards the east. However, we found an equally troublesome scenario below us. There appear to be a collective of, well, I don't know how to say it, barbarians.
Barbarians?
Incredible, they even managed to drag themselves outside of the mud. Yet here they are, they've taken up whole star systems. You mentioned that your fleets are rather small. May we ask as to the...
I believe it is primarily a technological issue.
Understandable.
Our species was transported here from an entirely different universe, and when we did, a lot of the technology didn't transfer over. Indeed. There was a very dark couple of years when we lost a lot. Many of our science cities burned to the ground, many scientists were slaughtered, and many more had to be repurposed to doing menial jobs like farming. And as such, we've gone into a bit of a technological dark age recently, and are struggling to get out of it.
Oh, well, that explains everything. My god, that's why you don't have magic. You have different fundamental laws of the universe. May I share with you a secret in return?
Of course.
My current age is 90. People think I'm hundreds of years old.
You
Truth
are.
is, I inherited my status from my forefathers, and them from theirs, and so on and so forth. So, although our technology is vastly different, and as you say, the laws of physics may be completely different, we would be willing to offer you a, how do we say, a research agreement. We may share some of our findings with you, and if you are capable, we may be able to reverse engineer the technology. Upon this day, we would like to make towards you a promise. Until you have rectified this situation, we are willing to provide you a defensive pact and a research agreement. That way you may study in peace, and maybe one day, once you are healthier, so to speak, as a nation and as a people, you will be able to return the favor in our darkest hour.
Of course. Again, as I said before, we were not used to dealing with friendly species. In our own universe, it was a much smaller galaxy. I'd say maybe a fourth of the size of this one from our initial reports. There was only one we met, the enemy, and they wanted nothing but our complete destruction.
Welcome, fair denizens of the galaxy. Unfortunately, many of you were unable to send representatives in time. However, for now, I simply wish to exchange my gracious hand towards you and offer you the chance to speak, should you desire. We understand that not everybody here proposed and agrees towards the founding of the Galactic community, which personally I believe is a sign of madness and barbarism, but that is besides the point. Should you wish to address the Galactic community as a whole, I suggest you send a message now, and we shall patch you through upon the main speakers.
Of course. The Galactic community. A trivial idea we have seen many, many cycles. At first, your community will be strong, will last 4 years. However, as the decades, the centuries pass, we are almost certain that this community will fall into a state of rampant corruption, be it through a large threat in this galaxy or out of this galaxy. Perhaps the community itself will collapse. However, perhaps this cycle will be different. Be it may, we, the Cerberus Protocol, are here to protect all empires and species of the galaxy from any galactic threats. If you see yourself in a situation where your species comes under an extinction level threat, please do not hesitate to come and speak to the Great Consciousness. That is all.
Ah, thank you. Strange creatures in here. We finally found intelligent life. We haven't found life in 50 years of our species fearing information. In our swarm, we found life. But, first of all, I need to take all samples off of you, otherwise my warrior cast will kill you. To simply put it, that's how things work in our swarm. So, I ask everyone, each one of you, to take a small sample and give it to us. So, our warrior swarm will not kill you and see us a threat. Yes?
Let me get this straight. You've just threatened death upon every member of the Galactic community lest they surrender their genetic code towards you.
No, not death to everybody. It's just if you enter our chambers and would be diplomatic, would enter diplomatic talks with us to each other, then my swarm will see you as a threat and immediately kill your ambassador. Is this a house or even cards out? Are your people not absent in the dimensions?
If you mean that we are not from this dimension, then yes, that is true.
When you came here, you broke many dimensions. It has taken us a long time to find you. Our people can traverse through these dimensions.
You know how to travel between dimensions. Perhaps then you can help us find our way home.
We believe that when you came here, it caused the disconnection of our transcendence. We would be willing to fix this, perhaps, but it would require some of your people coming to our home world.
If you know anything about traveling between dimensions and universes, then we have no choice. We do not know if there are any of our people still left in our home, but if we can try and find them, we must. I agree.
The energy that flows within our people allows us to do this. We were born with it. We are not given this. It is in our blood. For them to heal, then we need to learn.
They are all volunteers. If we would find people willing to do so, I would agree.
We will be in contact with you.
Sarjuk crown on Karkar Gaslim. An immensely powerful Kushari psychic has seized control of the Order of Sajakar. This immortal being, referred to in Husk Whispers as the Chosen One by her followers, was crowned on Karakar Gaslim in a lavish ceremony this morning. A communique celebrating the eternal rule of the Sanjuk bounty, Hyamar, has sent out to all interstellar governments shortly thereafter. That's the entities that we made contact with. That's worrying. We will go for influential knowledge. We need to start work on unifying the species within our borders more, since we are so disunited, both our own species and the one that we have also incorporated. Faust is dead. Protector Faust died at 104.
Construction project concluded.
Alright, it's the end. That's the end of an era. It was Dictator Faust who basically presided over the end of the War of the Enemies and our transition to our new universe. He has very big shoes to fill. If we go with Shang, If Chang's elected, he's the leader of the labor unions. He would move towards away from the dictatorship. If Chang gets it, we won't be a dictatorship anymore. Who are these other guys? Let's see, because they're all leaders. Tao Chang is the leader of, he was the leader of our labor rights network. They're the one in the roleplay that have been pushing for us to return to the old Confederacy system before the dictatorship. Since he was elected after the death of dictator Faust, we are going to reform into an oligarchy. All right, we are now an oligarchy. The Confederacy has come back. We now have Princip Isa Awolowo, who is destroyer focused and frontier spirit, so we're going to look to expand a lot. The new Confederacy, the new Arcala Divergency will focus on expansion, the colonization of new worlds.
Hello.
Who am I?
Speaking with the Arcala Divergency.
You are speaking with the recently reformed Confederacy of Arcala.
I see. My queen did create me to specifically speak with you. I'm a drone that will just speak. I came to inform you that we have got a hold of some of your... And we thank you for your contribution.
How did you get a hold of one of our people?
Just say, we have our ways to convince people.
We would ask that you immediately return our pop and our people to our own borders safely.
This is not possible. This particular being has been assimilated already, and we now have your whole genetic code. He is now part of the Xeltek swarm. And we are now able to also create your species. Every species has the right to join our species. We do not force anybody. We just a lot of resources and you could profit from us. But instead you choose to be hostile to us.
With the rights dictated to me by the Council of Arcala, I brand the Xeltek Swarm an enemy of the Divergency. It is our duty to protect all those who would have their rights taken away. We honor the sacred duty of our ancestors and declare you an enemy. You are not welcome in our systems, and you will see any moves towards us as an act of aggression, and we will respond accordingly. We find ourselves in a much bigger and more complex galaxy than we left. Alexander Faust did his best to build a future for our people where we survive. And although the initial jump was brutal, we have endured. New friends and new enemies now lie at our back and to our front. We must find the strength and wisdom to forge a future here. Perhaps we will never find our way home. The enemy is now a distant memory, and a future is being found to be one without the protectors. Faust's final legacy will be the end of the old system, one defined by necessity and fear to be replaced by our old ways, where hope leads the way. Our future is uncertain, our identity in question, and our decisions always uncertain, yet we survive, and we will continue to do so. The greatest of our people, Declan Noble, put well what makes us different and capable of overcoming all diversity. To be worthy of status, of honor, of respect, is to be a legend. We all innately seek this path, but a few will climb to the mountaintop. To reach it is the ultimate act of life and of existence. It is a challenge to the empty void, a statement of purpose. We will find our voice in an empty galaxy.